The Raptors part ways with President Masai Ujiri. What's next for a team in flux? Hey everyone, and welcome into Inside The Raptors. Rob Wong, joined alongside by Toronto Sun Raptors and NBA writer Ryan Wolstat. And what a Friday news dump that was, if you want to put it that way. The Raptors parting ways with Masai Ujiri after over a decade of work. Of course, the architect of the 2019 NBA championship squad, the architect of this Raptors team, just really putting them back on the map and maybe back just on the map period as far as the NBA goes. But a remarkable run for Masai Ujiri during his time with the Toronto Raptors as GM and team president. Of course, now that we've had a couple of days here to sort of break it all down and assess it, how do you feel about the move that was made on Friday by MLSE president Keith Pelly?
Well, you're right. It was the mother of all Friday news dump, long weekend. I mean, MLSE President Keith Pelly apologized for the long weekend thing. Like, we thought we were going to go interview Colin Murray Boyles and some other young Raptor prospects and draft picks, but ended up being something quite different. I mean, it was pretty crazy. I had heard some rumblings earlier in June and just didn't seem like it didn't make sense. The timing didn't make sense. Like, why would it happen now? It's not surprising that he's out because of it. Edward Rodgers didn't think he was worth the money last time, and he certainly isn't thinking he's worth it this time when, in 2021, they were only 2 years off the championship. They had, won, I think, 59 or 58 games. They looked really good until COVID. And, if he didn't want to pay him then, why would he want to pay him what he's asking for now? And to be fair, like, I think there's been a lot of sainting of Masai Ujiri, and I think he did obviously a fantastic job. Myself and Steve Simmons both said he's absolutely on the Mount Rushmore of Raptors people. I mean, Simmons even said he's on the Mount Rushmore of Toronto sporting executives, period. I mean, I guess he brought a championship here, but you have to be fair. The last 5 years have been really bad. Things have gone downhill, and if he wants to be paid as one of the top, if not the top paid executive in the sport, I understand why there was some hesitation. That said, I think you just do it because you're not going to get a guy. The odds are very slim that you're going to get a guy better than Masai Ujiri. But I think on his side as well, there was some, he wasn't that keen to work with just Edward Rodgers and have no Larry Tannenbaum at all. Like, that's a completely different animal. It's you're losing, his main benefactor is his best friend in the organization, and so I get it, but the timing is weird to oversee the draft and not do it before, or I don't know. It's a bizarre thing, and it was really weird being at the media conference because I've been to so many where someone's fired or leaves after not getting the job done, and this is where you're parting ways with a guy that actually did get you to the top of the mountaintop. So it was a little wild that way.
Yeah, and I said this after the Thunder won the championship, but Sam Presti's been the GM for 18 years with OKC, and he finally won his first championship. So it just goes to show you how unlikely it is that execs last for this amount of time with any team, given ones even with success like the Raptors have had. So now, obviously, a lot of questions about where the Raptors go from here. I think people were slightly surprised considering what happened with the Toronto Maple Leafs and the parting of ways with Brendan Shanahan, where Keith Pelly said that they would not try to get another president for the Leafs. But as he stated at the beginning of his news conference on Friday, that different teams require different personnel, and they will be looking for a successor for Masai Ujiri, who clearly has a ton of basketball experience. Do you feel as though the Raptors, for their next president, are going to be looking for someone in that realm or maybe somewhere outside of it?
Yeah, I think that the one thing that they don't have in this group, which they've built really smartly over the years, they have obviously tons of people with extensive scouting backgrounds. Bobby Webster has kind of done everything, but he basically co-wrote a couple of collective bargaining agreements ago. Like, he knew all the salary caps ins and outs. They have tons of analytics people like Keith Boyarsky has been with them forever. He heads that department. So they kind of have everything else. They even have former journalists. Luke Wynn used to write for Sports Illustrated. They have guys like that. What they don't really have is what's kind of the new trend in the NBA lately is former agents like Leon Rose, you've seen in New York doing a good job there with his staff. And it's happened elsewhere. Bob Myers is kind of a buzzy candidate. I'm not sure, like, he would command huge money and he would have to move his family, and he's working for ESPN. So I just don't see that as a fit. But that sort of person, maybe like a lesser known type of agent, that makes sense to add that into the president role if there is someone out there that fits, because that is kind of what maybe this Bobby Webster, Dan Tolzman, and company, the group, maybe it's kind of lacking. It doesn't have that kind of new look agent thing. I mean, obviously they've all dealt with agents for years, but there seems to be something said for having someone who's actually been a high level agent in the process as well. So I could see that happening, but I'm not sure anything gets done anytime soon.
Well, it's always interesting, this type of structure where you've got a new president coming in potentially, and he does not have the GM that he hired or any of the front office
I mean,
personnel. So,
Ryan Colangelo was still on board for very briefly when Tim Lewicki brought in Masai Ujiri. They had Colangelo kind of doing some other stuff. He was going to be involved in building what became OVO Center, which was BioSteel Center originally, and then they just figured out pretty quickly that that wasn't going to work. I don't think that's going to be the case this time. I think they're going to get someone that is very comfortable working with Bobby and Dan Tolzman and everyone else there.
all those guys just got locked up to new deals. So it wouldn't make sense, I don't think,
Yeah,
for this
exactly.
ownership to be moving on from those guys just yet. But wild times with the Raptors, still lots to figure out here with free agency coming up this week as well. For Ryan Wolstat, I'm Rob Wong. Thanks for watching. As always, leave your thoughts in the comments section below, and we'll talk to you next time.